Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Prius Prime because March 1st, Toyota launched it in Japan and we got a little more information about it. And some of the features are kind of cool. And I know that I did a quick video on the Prius, the 2023 Prius, because it is a good looking car. It looks really nice, much better than the previous Priuses that they've had. The previous Priuses honestly looked a little dorky, and this one looks very good in my opinion. But this one has a lot of features that are are kind of cool, and I wanted to talk about them. So they've released these figures, and the fuel efficiency that they're talking about seems very optimistic. They said that it gets 30.1 kilometers per liter. That's like 70 miles per gallon. That seems very optimistic. I think that the regular 2023 Prius is thought to get about 57 miles per gallon. And so I think this is probably the same. And the difference between 57 miles per gallon and 70 miles per gallon is probably just due to the WTLP cycle that they're using in Japan rather than the EPA cycle that we use in America. The They said that the battery EV driving distance, so the EV range on the Prius Prime is 105 kilometers, which is about 65, 66 miles, um, which is much higher than the 25 miles of EV range that the current model has, the 2022 Prius Prime has. However, this is again on the WTLP cycle, which is much more, it's kind of optimistic compared to the EPA cycle. And so they said it's a 75% increase compared to the previous model. So if we take that 75% increase from the 25 miles per hour, 25-mile range, it's probably closer to 40-mile range than 65-mile range. So I would expect when the EPA tests it to be around 40, maybe a little over 40, between 40 and 45 miles of range, which is quite good, and is much more than the about 37 miles of range that people were expecting because the old Prius um, had a 25-mile range and its battery pack is 8.8 kilowatt hours, and the new Prius Prime is 13.6 kilowatt hours, which is about a 50% increase in battery size. And so you would expect a 50% increase in range, which would make it 37.5. But I think it's going to be over 40 miles of EV range based on the conversion from WTLP to EPA. So that's good. Um, so we've got a 57 mile per gallon hybrid mode with a probably a little over 40 mile EV range, which makes it a very good car. Like for most people, 40 miles is going to get them back and forth from work without charging every day. Um, all right, so this is the cool where the cool stuff comes in. Let's read it. As a feature unique to plug-in EV vehicles, the new Prius plug-in EV, Prius Prime, comes with both a battery EV external power supply mode, which uses electricity stored in the battery to provide an external power source for outdoor leisure and other activities, and a hybrid EV external supply mode, which uses the car as a power supply during blackouts, disaster, and other emergencies. So what they're saying is this car essentially acts like a generator, and you can use it as like an emergency generator. And it comes also, so you can, this is kind of weird, you can have it plugged in internally and then use this little plastic shield then and route things outside. This I believe is probably going to be used more for like camping or something, and this keeps bugs and water out of there, this little shield thing. However, it says it is also equipped with a vehicle power connector that can be plugged into the charging inlet of the vehicle as an external power socket, providing 1,500 watts of power. So that's a decent amount of power. And it looks like they're doing the same thing that the Ioniq 5 did, where you can plug something into the charging port and then have a plug there. So if you do that, I don't know why you would route it from the inside. Anyways, so you can use that and use this 13.6 kilowatt hour battery as kind of a battery pack for your camping and stuff like that, or use it as backup power in your house, and use it as like it has vehicle to load basically. Or you can use the gas with a full tank of gas. They said that it would provide enough electricity for 5 days of use. Now this is probably optimistic, and they're talking about 5 days of use in the Japanese market, which most Japanese homes are quite small and don't use a lot of power. So this is not gonna power the AC in your McMansion for 5 days. I mean, that's definitely not going to happen. Um, but yeah, so you get basically a vehicle to load EV that's also a gas generator. So yeah, pretty cool. And then this is the last cool feature. It has solar panels, so it's kind of a solar electric vehicle. And here's the solar panel. It's pretty small, so it doesn't cover a large amount. And it says providing enough power to drive up to 1250 kilometers per year. That's about 770 miles, which is a little over 2 miles per day. So I mean, it's not Aptera. It's like up to 2 miles a day. That's like best case scenario, up to 2 point some miles per day. That's like Aptera is like 40 miles, up to 40 miles per day. So this is up to 2 miles per day. It's not anything to write home about, but it's also not nothing, and kind of a cool feature that they've locked in here. And then so they said it will supply the battery while it's driving. So just like the Aptera also charges while it's driving as well. And you can charge it while it's in the parking lot, and it gives you some power. And then it's got a quote my room mode. This is essentially Tesla's camp mode, and it lets you have climate control and audio systems and turns on the external power source. And then you can, so creating a comfortable interior without running the engine. This feature turns the car into an additional room that can be used for teleworking, rest, or any activities. Yeah, so you can run the power, you can plug into the power sources and run like your computers or refrigerator, or whatever you want to run in there. And it has they are calling it my room mode, but it's essentially a camp mode. It just lets you use the car as like a mobile house without turning on the engine. And then I'm sure what happens is when the battery runs down, it would turn on the engine and recharge the battery, which is what it would do in this power generation and supply mode. Okay, and then there's a couple of different features, like it's a little gray here. There's a couple of features that make it stand out from the regular Prius. And then the most important thing is going to be the price. This price is 4.6 million yen, which converts to about $33,500. So 33 between 33 and $34,000. Now that's for the Z end, which is kind of the super high end Prius Prime. The current Prius Prime, the 2022 Prius Prime, comes in at like $28,000. I think if this thing comes in at $28,000, it'll be a really good deal, and I think it'll sell very well. If it's like 30,000, I think it's still reasonable. If the low end Prius Prime gets much above $30,000, I don't think it's a viable vehicle, honestly. Um, they're not planning on selling very many though. Planning to sell 450 units per month in Japan. So I don't know what their production targets are for the United States. Hopefully it's a lot more. See, they are planning on they're basically thinking that the sales of the Prius Prime are going to be 1/10 the sales of the regular Prius. I don't know what the sales figures for the previous year's models are, but I think as long as the price is right on this car, it has a lot of very compelling features. I think this power supply vehicle to load, especially with the gas generator backup, is going to be very popular with certain people. And again, great looking car, very efficient, pretty good EV range at around little over 40. And with this power generation mode, little nice touch with the solar panel. If the price is right, I think it's going to sell very, very well. Okay, tell me what you guys think. Are you guys thinking about this Prius? Does the power generation thing seem interesting to you, or is that kind of not great? And solar panel, was it worth it for the 2.2 miles of range per day, or 2.4 miles? It's a little over two. Is it worth it for that? All right, let me know in the comments below, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks as always to our supporting members, and have a great day.